I want to start by telling you a story about a small community near the town of Narok in Kenya. This was a Maasai community whose livelihood depends on raising cattle, sheep and goats. Increasingly, their way of life had been threatened by the shortage of land and pasture because it's being sold off for agricultural use. Their children didn't have access to good schooling and there were poor health facilities, and their future was looking bleak. About 10 years ago, a Kenyan facilitator called Francis Njoroge took them through a process called Umoja, which is similar to Qavar. The community became unified and self-sufficient, and the church played a key role in bringing this about. When I evaluated this project some years later, I asked the community members what they'd felt had been the critical element that allowed them to make this change. And they said it was Francis, the way he became part of our lives and community. He loved us, he loved our old people, he loved our children, and he even loved our chickens too. He gave us confidence to make changes and transform our community to what it is today.
This passion and love of people is the most important quality of the Qavar facilitator. So when we think about working with our community, the starting point has to be building relationships. You can't just go and say to people, this is how you solve your problems. You need to win their trust and respect and have a rapport which gives the community a reason to listen to you and a desire to work together to make things better.
It may be that your church already has a good relationship with the community, which you can build on. In other situations, your church may be a minority religion, and it's difficult to find a natural way to engage with the community. For example, in countries that are predominantly Hindu or Muslim, there may not be a natural link with the community. But whatever your situation is, you need to go into your community with a humble heart and an openness to learn.
When Moses stood before the burning bush, God told him to take his shoes off because he was standing on holy ground. This is a very moving passage because we hear about Moses hearing and feeling God's pain for the suffering people of Israel. This is deeply profound because as we tread on the soil of our communities, we are treading on holy ground. We need to hear, see and feel at gut level the pain the people are going through. We also need to recognise that communities are constantly changing and have their own dynamics, and we need to take time to appreciate this.
Treading on holy ground means acknowledging that all people are made in the image of God, regardless of race, tribe, gender and colour. A community's past, culture and tradition should always be respected. We go to listen and learn and not make assumptions. And we allow the community to become the teachers and we become the pupils. The story of the Good Samaritan helps us to think about what might be the barriers to coming alongside people who are different from ourselves, and challenges us about some of our own prejudices in regard to race, religion and gender.
So now we've thought about our attitudes as we go into the community, let's think about some practical ways of building relationships and gathering information with our community. Firstly, celebrate existing relationships and look for ways of making them stronger. Look for opportunities to build new relationships through simple acts of kindness. Identify key people who have influence and could be important allies for helping the community engage in Qavar. Allow plenty of time for them to ask questions, debate and challenge the idea so that they gain ownership. Informal contact is as important as formal meetings. People tend to open up more when they're relaxed. And once the community leaders are on board, then encourage them to host a community meeting to introduce Qavar.
Once the relationships have been built, as the church did in the envisioning stage, there should be a celebration activities with the community to identify and celebrate their resources and achievements. Then it's time to identify the needs that exist in the community through various gathering information tools.
When gathering information, there are three main areas to draw from. The first one is discussion groups made up of young people, parents and the elderly. The second group are people who have specialist knowledge in certain areas, such as health workers, social workers, teachers and government officials. The third source of information is from local statistics.
To gather this information, we use a range of participatory tools which enable the community to express themselves and gain ownership on the issues that they feel are most important to them. Once the information has been gathered in, it's analysed and prioritised.
The process and the way it's carried out is just as important as the project or initiative that comes from it. Because transformation is only sustainable if achieved in a spirit of cooperation and good relationships.